Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Daredevil Born Again Season 1 review series. And today I am going to be talking about Episode 8, Isle of Joy, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was an emotional roller coaster. This was very intense. The intensity in this episode was off the charts. Everything about this episode was excellent. There was no short of a few surprises, and there were definitely one or two shocking moments, and especially the ending in particular, which I'll get into as we move along here. But I really enjoyed this one a lot, and we learned that Wilson Fisk isn't the only monster who is working behind the shadows. There is another player who it looks like has been really pulling the strings all along, not necessarily Wilson Fisk. And we also saw the return of a villain who we last saw back at the beginning of season 1 in the first episode. And it looks like this villain in particular wasn't working alone. We find out who this villain has been working for, which ties into who the real monster is in the Fisks. And it really helped set the stage for what's going to definitely be an epic season 1 finale for this show. And I loved it. I think, you know, Born Again, some people have said that it's been a little bit slow. There hasn't been a great deal of action. It's kind of just been coasting along here. I think if you pay close attention to everything that's been going on, it's all building up to one massive explosion. I get where people are coming from. It's not the Netflix shows. Quite frankly, as much as I love the Netflix shows, I wouldn't necessarily expect this show to be just a carbon copy of that because the Netflix shows are what they are. They have its place. They're special. Nothing will ever take that away from the Netflix shows. But I think what Born Again season 1 has done is, they're not giving you too much. They're giving you enough, but they're doing it in a way where you're coming back for more. And with what went down in episode 8, we're coming not necessarily for more, we're coming for the whole thing. We want it all and we want it straight away. And, you know, it's been a slow burn. I won't lie. It's been a slow burn. There's been some moments where not much going on here, but now with the last few episodes, we can kind of see where things are going. And I still expect a big twist coming in the season 1 finale. So we'll have to wait and see. But this was a fantastic episode. I loved it. And wow, holy cow. Wasn't really expecting it to end the way it did. So, as always, I am going to give a quick recap of what's happened so far. And then after that, we are going to get straight into talking about episode 8, Isle of Joy. So, as we saw previously in episode 7, we finally learned the true identity of Muse, who turned out to be none other than Bastian Cooper. And we saw him abduct Heather Glenn and held her hostage and proceeded to kill her for his next work of art. And then we saw Daredevil come to the rescue and we saw him and Muse go at it in a hard hitting, bloody encounter. And this led to Heather Glenn pulling the trigger and killing Muse. And we saw Wilson Fisk's task force take all the glory and credit for taking down Muse, even though Wilson Fisk knows that Matt Murdock has returned as Daredevil. And we also saw at the end of episode 7, we saw Vanessa Fisk texting Luca the address of where Wilson Fisk is having dinner, and we see Luca goes to the restaurant where Wilson Fisk is eating with the intention of killing him. And before he could reach Fisk, we see he is taken out by Cashman, and Wilson Fisk very casually asks him if Vanessa would like to join him for some takeout. And that pretty much ended episode 7. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Wilson Fisk really knows that Luca was sent by his wife to have him killed. So, with that all said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 8, Isle of Joy. So, we start this episode where we see Benjamin Poindexter, also known as Bullseye, is serving his sentence at Rikers Island, and he is picked up by the guards and taken out of solitary confinement. And despite Poindexter's protests, he is transferred into general population and is now together with all of the other inmates. Meanwhile, we see Vanessa Fisk is with Wilson Fisk, who takes her to Red Hook Pier and informs her that the funding for his redevelopment project is happening and thanks Vanessa for her efforts to make it happen. Fisk then brings her to a hidden location at the pier and shows where he has kept her lover Adam prisoner. Adam pleads and begs for them to let him go. Fisk addresses Vanessa and acknowledges his shortcomings as a husband and promises that he will never leave her again, and gives Vanessa a choice to decide Adam's fate. Instead of letting Adam go, Vanessa chooses to kill him and shoots Adam with a gun, and we see Vanessa and Wilson reconcile their relationship. Now, we had been building up to this moment for quite a few episodes now, and we saw previously that Wilson Fisk had admitted that he had met up with Adam, but nothing happened. They just had a conversation, and that was it. Now, anybody who knows the Kingpin will know that he never ever lets anyone walk away. So it was inevitable that Vanessa would learn that Wilson has been keeping Adam prisoner. I thought that we were going to see Vanessa get angry at Wilson at the fact that he has kept Adam locked up for all this time and lied about actually letting him walk away. But Vanessa showed in that scene that she was just as evil and ruthless as her husband. So that scene really said to me that although Fisk may be the kingpin, Vanessa, she's no slouch herself. She also can pull a few strings herself. So quite an interesting twist. I thought she would have been quite angry about the fact that Adam has been kept prisoner, but to actually see her shoot him was something I didn't really expect, and this would be the first of many surprises to come. So we see Heather Glenn is still struggling to process what happened when Muse attacked her, and talks to Matt Murdock about Muse, Daredevil, and all of the violence that they breed. Although Murdock insists that Daredevil and Muse are nothing alike, Buck Cashman suddenly shows up at Murdock's place and gives Glenn her invitation to the black and white ball organised by Vanessa and Wilson Fisk. Murdock questions how does Glenn know Cashman and asks Fisk's are her clients, to which she refuses to answer out of confidentiality. Murdock claims that she should not trust Fisk as he only seeks to use her to support his anti vigilante narrative, and Glenn argues with him. Glenn suggests Murdock to accompany her to the ball if he is so concerned, but Murdock does not answer and goes to work instead. Arriving at the office, Murdock talks to Kristen McDuffie about Thomas Madison's case, on which they have been working for a while. McDuffie then informs Murdock that Poindexter has been put into general population, and Murdock is only glad that. She also mentions that Poindexter has been requesting a meeting with Murdock, but warns him that he should not indulge him regardless. Murdoch asks if they knew who ordered Poindexter's transfer, and McDuffie confirms it was actually Wilson Fisk who. Fisk holds a meeting with Cashman, Sheila Rivera, and Daniel Blake and congratulates them with the success the office has achieved, particularly the success of the anti vigilante task force. Rivera points out that the AVTF's excessive methods are subject to lawsuits, but Fisk is unbothered due to their results. Commenting on the good publicity the AVTF has been getting, Fisk praises Blake for how he handled Bibi Urich and her coverage of the events and decides to appoint Blake as a deputy mayor for communications. Rivera tries to interject and claims that Blake is unfit for such a position, but Fisk does not listen and says that people like him are the future of New York City. Blake says that I will not let you down, Fisk. Murdoch and McDuffie hold a meeting with Madison, who has been accused of defrauding teachers, but Murdoch picks up his flippant attitude and his lie that he was not aware of his actions. Murdoch angrily tells Madison that even though they are his lawyers, they would not dabble in perjury and defend a client who they know is lying. McDuffie talks to Murdoch about his outburst, wondering if it was somehow related to Poindexter, and asks Murdoch what has been going on with him lately. Murdoch tells her that after all the injustice they witnessed with Hector Ayala and Leroy Bradford, and how Fisk only gets more public support, all what Murdoch and McDuffie have been doing feels pointless. Murdoch goes to the closed Josie's bar and has a drink with Josie, where he is found by Cherry, who McDuffie asks to keep an eye on him. They talk about Fisk moving forward with his anti vigilante platform and moving Poindexter into general population. And Murdoch thinks that they have been missing something and it must somehow be connected. Cherry insists that he has proven that Poindexter was acting alone to get revenge and asks Murdoch to move forward. When Josie mentions that Foggy Nelson has been drinking their special O. McVinnie's bottle on the night he died, Murdoch finds it strange and realizes that Nelson already knew that he was going to win the case and someone had him silenced. Arriving at Rikers Island, Murdoch meets with Poindexter and asks him if he was hired by Wilson Fisk to kill Nelson and that if he wanted Poindexter dead because he knew too much. Poindexter does not reply directly, implying that if he stays in general population, he would die before Murdoch gets to the truth. He says that if Murdoch wants to know if Fisk hired him, he would have to represent him and get him out of prison, to which Murdoch responds by slamming his head against the table in a full fit of rage. Poindexter laughs through the pain and thanks Murdoch before the guards come and escort him away, as Murdoch says that Poindexter did that to himself. Wow, brutal. The Fisks hold the black and white ball at Gracie Mansion with the AVTF handling the security for the event. Rivera assures Blake that she has nothing against his promotion and only thinks of it as premature, but Blake tells her that he is no longer worried about Rivera thinks anymore. He then goes on to talk to Urich, who is still upset about what happened between them before, telling her that he is now deputy mayor for communications, and Jack Disqueen talks to Armistice Sledge, who previously had a rather hostile talk with Fisk, noticing that she was nervous and her husband being absent. Glenn, who decided to accept the invitation, is upset that Murdoch did not come and didn't even give her a heads up. We then see Poindexter is taken to a prison doctor and has his wounds tended to, but Poindexter reveals that one of his teeth got broken and he uses it to injure the guard and breaks free. Poindexter then proceeds to kill the guard and the doctor and steals the prison uniform and escapes from Rikers Island. Oh boy, here we go. Vanessa approaches Glenn at the ball, thanking her for what she did for their marriage, and says that she and Fisk had managed to resolve their issues and now they're okay. Murdoch eventually arrives at the ball to check on Fisk, while Glenn voices her frustrations with him being emotionally and physically distant from her. Murdoch overhears Fisk pressuring Disquin into supporting the redevelopment project, using his secret life as swordsman as a leverage. A journalist discusses as a waiter snaps a photo of Fisk, who then orders Connor Powell to take care of him, and Powell uses excessive force to punish him. Gallo tries to intervene, threatening to charge Powell with assault, but Powell is unbothered and claims that the AVTF only answer to Fisk, not to Gallo. As Fisk continues to have his private conversations with potential investors, Urich calls it corruption, and Blake asks why she cannot be just happy for him. As Blake would not side with her, Urich approaches Gallo, asking questions about the AVTF, and Gallo replies that the ATVF was all Wilson's idea, and in turn accuses her of twisting the narrative in Fisk's favour by reporting on moves being taken down by the ATVF, which was proven to be false. He then asks if Urich knew that Fisk was a prime suspect in her uncle's murder, and she replies that she does, which was the reason why she was trying to get closer to Fisk. She then tells Gallo that not everything she published was written willingly, and says that if there was anything he wanted to come out, he should contact Urich. Boy, here we go. Glenn says that Murdoch has been acting strange, even accounting for his issues with Fisk, while still not answering if he was her client. Murdoch insists that Fisk sought her out to keep tabs on him, but Glenn remains skeptical about that and tries to stop Murdoch from acting out and confronting Fisk at the ball. As Fisk and Vanessa take the centre floor for the first dance of the evening, Murdoch tells Glenn that Fisk is a monster and she should not be safe until it is over. Cashman finds out that Poindexter escaped the prison and informs the Fisks, so Vanessa admits to her husband that there is something she needs to tell him. Overhearing them, Murdoch realizes that Vanessa was the one who hired Poindexter to kill Nelson, as she was the one running his empire at the time. So it looks like that Vanessa has taken the kingpin role, so to speak. So while he's been away, she's been running everything. So it's shown now that Vanessa Fisk is much more evil than her husband, and even ordering the hit on Foggy Nelson to be taken out. A very kingpin move, in my opinion, as Murdoch interjects to take Vanessa for a dance and accuses her of ordering Nelson's death, vowing that she will pay. But Vanessa only laughs and asks if Glenn knew that he is Daredevil. Fisk then takes Glenn for a dance, telling her that Murdoch may have a secret that he does not want her to know. Poindexter takes the position at the balcony and aims at Fisk, preparing to kill him with a rifle, but Murdoch picks up on that and saves Fisk by jumping in front of him and taking the bullet in his stand. Fisk and Glenn are shocked, and while the guests scatter, the AVTF rush to neutralize Poindexter, and we see Matt Murdoch bleeds out as he collapses on the floor. And that's how we end episode 8, Isle of Joy, and that wraps up my review. Overall, this episode was excellent. This was an amazing emotional ride. The lead up and build to Poindexter getting out of prison, coming to the party with the gun, ready to take out Wilson Fisk. Very well done. Vanessa really showing her true colours, that she's not just the wife of Wilson Fisk, she's just as evil and ruthless as him. Brilliant stuff, amazing twist, and Matt Murdock getting shot at the end. Did not see that one coming at all. Totally unexpected, and really sets the stage up for the season one finale of the show. But I loved it. This was really good. And the last 5 minutes of the end of the episode was just gripping stuff, because you knew an explosion was coming, but I had no idea that Matt Murdock would be the one taking the bullet for Wilson Fisk. Didn't see that one coming, but what an ending. Really excited for the finale. It's going to be epic, and this episode was top notch. Absolutely loved it. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you guys think of episode 8, Isle of Joy? Did you enjoy it? What was your favourite scene? Did you like it when Matt Murdock saw Poindexter? What's your reaction to Vanessa Fisk being the one who had Foggy Nelson murdered? Were you shocked? Do you think Matt Murdock will survive getting shot by Point Dexter? And also, do you think that Glenn will eventually find out that Matt Murdock is Daredevil? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for the final edition of the Daredevil Born Again Season 1 review series, where I am going to be the Season 1 finale, Episode 9, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing, especially with the way this episode ended. It is going to be absolutely off the chain. Bring it on. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.